So welcome to our very first episode of our podcast, episode 0. We're thrilled to have you join us as we embark on this exciting journey. This podcast, brought to you by TU Berg Academy Freiberg, is dedicated to exploring the diverse and dynamic world of student and researcher life at the university and the personal stories of professionals from different institutes here at university. In this episode, we'll introduce the vision behind our podcast, what you can expect in future episodes, and give you a sneak peek into some of the compelling conversations we have lined up. Our guest today is Dr. Faisal Qayyum, and we are excited from the Institute for Metal Forming, and we are super excited to learn about his incredible journey. We'll delve into his experiences in Germany, his life before moving here, and his remarkable 7-year experience at the TU Berg Academy Freiberg. Whether you're a student or simply curious about the field of MMT, we're here to inform, inspire, and connect. So sit back, relax, and let's get started on this incredible adventure together. Dr. Faisal, welcome aboard. We are extremely happy to have you here. How are you?
Thank you. I'm fine. Today I'm feeling better.
How was your week?
It was super busy. Had to finish a lot of things, but yeah. Today, now the week is ending. Most of the things are finished, so yeah.
So you defended your PhD like a couple of months ago.
Yes, in December 2024, so 5 months ago.
Ever since then, has the research life been more hectic or less?
It has been more hectic.
Okay, that is counterintuitive because most people would say, like preparing for defending the PhD and research and writing the dissertation and everything. And then things should relax afterwards, but I have to go very close. But then, how come things have gotten more hectic?
Yeah, because if you're in academia, it is an expectation that after PhD you will get more responsibility. You will be working on. So basically, your skill has improved. So this is what you will be using for other things, and that is what. So my pay has not changed. My office has not changed. My people who I work with have not changed, but in terms of responsibilities, I have now more students to supervise. I have more lectures to deliver. I am now expected to write own project proposals. I have a very nice researcher profile, so my professor is expecting that I will write bigger proposals and not really the small ones like other small researchers.
Yeah.
But you get the idea. And that is what, and that is more pressure.
Yes.
So when they have more expectations, the pressure is on.
Yes, I can surely imagine that you have now more paperwork stacked on your table, like on your desk.
Yes.
As compared to like 1 year ago.
Yes. So when I was doing my PhD, I only had my own research papers mostly my own research papers to focus on. Now I'm collaborating with 4 or 5 different people from 4 or 5 different regions, countries, universities, and it has become more difficult. So that is why, life after PhD does not get easier.
But you get used to it. You get like as you grow older, responsibilities mount up, but then you actually grow stronger, in a sense.
I believe if you like academia, then
you will enjoy that.
This is real academia then.
Okay.
So you're delivering lectures, you're supervising students, you're doing whatever you practiced to do, right?
Yes.
And in PhD, so that is what you're actually doing. I that is why I enjoy it, but other people don't because they're doing PhD just to
for the title sometimes.
Yeah, and therefore they will not enjoy this. So they will expect less pressure after PhD, but it does not get easier.
Mm-hmm.
So it depends on why you are doing PhD and where you're staying after that.
So the enjoyment part is one of the most, you would say, the most important thing that actually keeps you moving forward because you enjoy that, regardless of the pressure, regardless of
yes. So academia is very different. Maybe you have some experience. Maybe you can share that a little. But I believe most of the people fascinate industry more. Because it has standard operating procedures, you know your job. If you're sick, someone else will do your work, and it will get done anyways.
More money sometimes.
More money as well. But people want to go to industry primarily because of SOPs, and in academia you don't have them. You have to be, and then in industry you are always economy driven. So orders will come, you will have to deliver, and people like when someone else defines their goals and they exactly know what they
it's
have
like
to
a
work
chain of
on.
command.
Yes.
Yes.
In academia, it does not happen like that. So I have to find reasons to come to work every day and then work on them. So I have to populate my own to-do list and then do those tasks. It is more self-driven. It is another way of thinking.
But it's not fast. It's not as fast. It's not as fast paced as in industry. Some people say academia is more set back. You relax.
Okay. So if you want to go in that direction, I think depends on where you are in academia. So if I look at our institute, we purely consider our institute as economy driven thing. So we know how much funds we have every year. We want to maximize that. Basically, funds that come in support the research that we are doing, support the technical staff we have, and support everything else in our institute. So we always want to get more money, and in those terms, we are working like an industry. But of course, it is a research institute. So there are some projects that are industry driven, which are very short, which have very sharp deadlines. Some are relatively longer projects, which require more time. But people are doing all sort of things. And when I have discussions with Professor Pral, we always think of, because we are at Institute of Metal Forming, so we always think of applied sciences and how we can apply the knowledge we have to maybe bring more industrial projects in, maybe bring more money in, maybe invite more people to our institute. So in those terms, I'm sure that we work as industry, but we have this flexibility of moving quickly or slowly with slower projects.
You set the pace somehow, more or less than compared to, for example, if you're working in an R&D department in a company.
Yes. So so that is what I'm saying. If you are more self-motivated, you will populate your to-do list more, and then you will have more work to do. But in academia, if you want to go fast-paced, you always have to populate your own to-do list, and there is no external pressure. So your actual how do we say that? Your actual job description is not that detailed.
You define it.
And you can define it as someone who will be working in an industry, or you can define it as someone who is dead in academia.
Dr. Faisal, have you always known that you wanted to be a doctor?
Define always.
Like when you were, for example, at our age, when you were like having a master's degree, or even before that, did you always wanted to continue and pursue your PhD?
So when I was in my master's, I always wanted to go in industry, because I thought now I have more research experience. Maybe this is what people lag in industry. Therefore, the industry in Pakistan is not really progressing too much. We are always dependent on external aid, external technical assistance, and so on. And maybe this is what we need in industry. So I prepared myself by doing masters to perform well in industry, and then I joined industry. So,
but that was before even the idea of Germany popping up to your head.
Yeah. So your question was, did I always know that I want to be a doctor? No. So when I was doing my masters, I did not want to go in academia. I was doing that purely to get more first-hand experience of how research is done. So how you identify questions, how you do literature review, and then you do experiments to prove right or wrong, or you slowly progress through failures to eventually succeed at.
Slowly progress through failures. I really liked that.
Mm-hmm.
I really liked it.
Nice.
To find a possible solution. And that is what I wanted to take to industry. So, but I had previous experience with industry. I knew this is what people were lagging there. So they were just focusing on that. That's what I talked about. They were just focusing on SOPs. And they always whenever they found a problem, they just, instead of solving that problem, they found a way around it. So just ignored the problem completely instead of solving it, or outsource that. So when I was doing my research, I thought maybe I could contribute a little bit more, and then I joined industry, and I did not like that because. So I was working in a cement industry, and what I realized in 1.5 months, after 1 month, I could put it in words after 1.5 months, was that it does not matter for them if Faisal is working there or a monkey is working there, as long as a cement.
The job is being done.
The cement is being produced and it is being shipped out of the factory. It does not matter to them who is working in. And if you want to change something, they don't want to do that because they're afraid something might get broken. We don't know what will happen here or there. So my ideas were, for example, install wind turbines on every exhaust, so you can produce some electricity. My idea was don't cool your cement directly on the belt. So at the end of the belt or at the beginning of the belt, maybe you can remove some closure plates, so it cools down during this as well. And just try different things. And they didn't even want to try because it disrupts what they are usually.
It's a huge risk,
yes,
money-wise.
And then many small other things as well. So why does this go from this path and not go directly there? And they are not even interested in talking about that because they don't want to disrupt it.
Yeah.
And after 1.5 months, I realized industry is not for me. So because I had this experience with research, I wanted to do that for some industry, but not by staying in industry, because that was a very different environment. People had a very different mindset. And the hierarchy was so long, so high up, that it would have taken me 10 years to be in a position of power there.
That you can actually start defining.
Yes, but then once you are there for 10 years, you're dead inside. So then you're same as other people. You don't want to change anything.
The culture will have rubbed on you.
Yes.
Rubbed off on you.
So that is when I decided I did not want to continue in industry, and I
even after arriving in Germany.
No, so I'm talking about Pakistan right then. Then I moved to academia. And when I moved to academia, previously I was very much shielded. I had the glass ceiling on top and on the sides.
But that was also in Pakistan.
Yes.
So you started PhD in Pakistan.
Yes. No, but I joined academia. That means I was a lecturer and you did Excella.
Okay.
So I started teaching. And then enrolling into PhD was just a side thing. So they said, if you can enroll in it, then we will have numbers to show. And if you will spend time anyways, get a degree for it.
Mm-hmm.
And that is how I enrolled there. But primarily my job was to teach. I was a lecturer there. And then when I joined academia, I really liked that. I was able to do research. I was able to teach. I found myself there. But the problem is in academia, if you want to hike the ladder, you have to be highly qualified. And then I saw a lot of people around me who did their BSc from the same university, who did their masters from the same university, who had just finished PhD before me, basically my teachers. And I did not like that they had very less exposure. So they were trying very hard, but if you have not learned well, you cannot teach well. Do you understand that?
Yeah.
And that is when I decided I wanted to go for a PhD, but also not from the same country or the same university. I wanted to get more exposure.
Mm-hmm.
And that is where the idea of PhD came in.
Mm-hmm.
So
And that was despite the fact that you had already a couple of years behind you in the PhD. So like
yes, so I was.
That was a very difficult decision.
So I was doing that PhD just because I was there.
Mm-hmm. Not because you wanted to do a PhD.
The reason behind that was I will spend my time here anyway. So let's use it
to get a degree.
To get a degree as well.
That's a very important point.
But then later when I really decided to get a PhD, that was when I thought of this, that I want to get a PhD to get more exposure and want to learn better, so then I will be able to teach better. and that was and the decision was I don't want to do it here. I want to do it somewhere else. Yeah, and then this idea of going abroad, starting something popped up, and then I started looking for how one can go abroad and start a PhD there.
And Germany was the destination because...
Germany was not the destination. Germany was ideally not the destination, so the destination was France.
Okay.
My supervisor in UTEXLA, where I did my master's, where I was teaching, at the same time he was the lab in charge. He was then my supervisor as well. And he did his master's leading to PhD from France. And we really liked him because he was more knowledgeable, he was more confident, he was really leading that fracture mechanics and fatigue lab. So everything that I had built until then, he had his major role in doing that.
And you could feel that he was different than the other professors who had their masters and PhD from Pakistan.
Yes. And so basically what I wanted to do was I wanted to be him, the future him. And while he was our supervisor, we were already doing some collaborative work with a French lab in Toulouse. And that is how I had connections with professor in Toulouse. So when I got my scholarship to do PhD abroad, so it was unconditional scholarship, I could get that money if I could get admission anywhere in Europe. And the idea was, at that time I was doing collaborative work with them in Pakistan. I would go there and do my PhD there because I already knew what they were working on. I already had basic knowledge. I was developing numerical simulation model. Everything was going fine. So I thought now I will be in France. I will do something different. I just told that professor I already had acceptance letter from there, and then I got email from my scholarship provider that if you want, if some of you already have, so they sent email to all the students who were selected that if you already have acceptance from Germany, just give us that and start your process with Germany. And then I asked them, but when will the process for France start? They said it will take 6 more months before you can then bring those applications in, because they had step-by-step processes. And then I told this to my professor in Pakistan, and he said, yeah, but why don't you go to Germany? And I said, because I want to go to France. And he said, but you...
And going to France was purely because you were influenced by him?
Yes.
You had no other motivation whatsoever?
My motivation...
You had the momentum going in the project.
Yeah, so my motivation was I already knew what they were working on.
Yeah.
So I was fully aligned with them. My idea was I would have significantly less friction so going there.
Yeah.
And I will just directly start working on real stuff. I will not have to learn anything. I was already, I already had all the experimental data. I knew how experiments were done. We already had published some papers together. So everything was going fine. I knew from the very first day I will land there, I will just start doing real science. If I go anywhere else, I will have to learn that, and that takes time. That takes, in my mind, I thought it would take at least a year to start that again, and I did not want to lose a year. And that is why, so that was another motivation why I wanted to go to France. But then he said, yeah, but why don't you go to Germany? And I said, yeah, because I want to go to France. And he said, and I quote, he said, yeah, but Germany is 10 times better than France. And the people there are more planned, structured, organized, and they work harder than French. So you will learn these things on top of this. And he said, anyways, you already have learned everything they're doing in France. So your learning will be much less. You can always work in collaboration with them from anywhere in the world. If you work with them in Pakistan, explore something new and learn something new in your PhD. Don't do the same thing what you have done in your master's in your PhD. And I liked his idea, and I only had 3 weeks to apply for this extended funding so that I could go to Germany. And I told him, yeah, but now I only have 3 weeks. And he said, so what? Just try. And the rest is history. And I'm here for 7 years now.
By that time, you already had an acceptance here from Germany?
No.
You had
I had no idea about Germany. I had no idea about Germany until then.
Wow. And what was like, when was the first time that Germany popped out?
Then when I got the email that if you have German acceptance, just start your process. And I shared this with him in the lab in one evening. 1 week had already passed. That I got an email. So they asked if I have acceptance from Germany, and I asked them when can I go to France, and they told me that the process will start in 6 weeks. So 6 months, and so we will wait for 6 months. And he said, but why don't you go to Germany?
Yeah.
And that is where the idea, and I had 3 more weeks to then do rest of my process. That is when Germany popped up.
That's perfect. It's actually very important. The importance of having a mentor is something of really high value, I would say. Do you think that it equals the exposure you had back then? Having a mentor was the reason why you were exposed to, or how important is having a mentor for you?
Absolutely. I think my life completely pivoted on academia. So now I have spent 7 years in Germany. I believe a much more established researcher because of this mentor I had starting from the end days of my bachelor's until I came here to Germany, and even then, so there are stories when I really broke down when I started working here because of the huge language barrier, because of a big cultural difference, because of several things. And yeah,
I remember last time when we were having a similar conversation, you told me that once you reached here to Germany, you actually started from -8.
Yeah.
Not from 0, it's from -8 because
Yes.
you had no language, and you stated a lot of things. Yeah.
Yes. So your previous question was is having mentors important? I believe it is super important. They really
Now we're back.
it just continued.
All right. Amazing. Okay.
1, 2, 3. Okay.
So
we were talking about
1, 2,
mentors. I want to close that point with, I think they play a very important role in pivoting our lives. And we can go to the next question then.
I wanted to, like so much now for mentorship and like how you shifted from, like you did a lot of things. And I can imagine that this took like maybe in Pakistan 5, 6, 7 years of your life. Now, for me personally, because I had a similar experience, and I think many people also, I think Shtaq also shares the same experience. Many people in our age at this time, like your 20s are the most, if not the most hectic decade of your life, because you have lots and lots of decisions to make that will actually affect your destiny later on. But then many people carry some regrets time-wise. They always say like, I should have done this a little bit earlier. It's too late now. What I want to talk about is like this feeling of regret, because it's so bad, and like carrying it forward as you progress forward in life just keeps you back from enjoying every single step that you take. Because you always just keep telling yourself, at this point I should have done more. At this point I should have been in a completely different place. Did you face this during that period of your life, and how did you deal with it?
That's a very good question. That's a very good question. The answer to that is I still ask this question to myself. I do not have an answer to it. So I'm going through the same thing even today or now. But my answer to that is different. You have to live with the choices you made, and what I've realized through life, no matter what decision you make, your glass will always be half full and half empty. You always have to focus on the half full glass, and you always have to try to fill the other half that is empty. No matter what choices you make, you will always have half glass full and half glass empty. Maybe it is a little bit more full sometimes, it is a little bit more empty sometimes, but you have to know that there will be things you will always have to work on, no matter what decision you make, and that makes all the difference. So if you understand this, it makes it much easier to live with the choices you have made and focus on things that based on your value system, based on how you've understood yourself, based on that, how you try to fill those gaps. That is what I have learned through life. That you will think, if I made another decision, if I went to another country, if I did another specialization, or if I studied something else, or if I did not come to Germany, or if I did whatever, I would have been better off. You only have this in your head. In reality, whatever you would have done, it would not have been the same. It would have different things.
But you would ask yourself the same questions.
Yes.
So you would always come full circle to the same.
Yes. So that is what I'm saying. No matter what decisions you make, you will always have a half glass full and half glass empty. Of course, it will be full with different things if you make different choices, but it will be empty.
But the empty part is always empty.
Yes, but it will be empty of different things.
Yes.
Right? There is.
I think what we're struggling.
Taco, your mic sounds way better.
Thank you. You can have it next time.
That's okay.
Yeah, but what I was just gonna give an input on this, that I think it's not about the regret of the choices we have made specifically, but the fear of missing out. That whatever you're doing right now, even though deep down you know that it's actually the right choice, but then you still have this fear of missing out of the things that you did not choose. So basically you will, no matter, I think it's something that is inevitable, and I think it's something that is in every person. And I definitely think that it has nothing to do with age also, because I think this will definitely go to the grave with us, that we will always feel that no matter what we did, we're still going to have the fear of missing out, and we're still going to think that whatever we've missed might have been better than what we've chosen. And this is almost like the air we breathe. It's an inevitable, I would say. So maybe with time and with age, it only gets easier, but it doesn't fade, I would say. Dr. Faisal, do you agree?
I just wanted to add something, because you made me just realize something important, which is I want to just think about, where does this regret actually stem from? So I just realized that mostly, maybe you can also agree or disagree on this, and we can have a more expanded discussion, which is our schooling system, all of us probably, teaches us to like walk on a certain pathway and not deviate from it whatsoever. And then you learn to adapt like this, and then you learn how to set goals in a certain, just one vector, one direction, that's it. So, and then it has to be timed. So I'm gonna graduate, I'm gonna go to school from this age to this age, I'm gonna graduate, I'm gonna start my master's, I'm gonna finish it in 2 years, maybe 23, and I'm gonna finish it 25. Afterwards, I can go like 2 years in the industry, I can go back for a PhD, or no, directly a PhD, blah, blah, blah. And then you have this every single day, like it becomes so consolidated in your life, it becomes a part of you, that once something, just one thing, small thing, one block falls out of place, your whole life changes. Yeah. And you have to take a completely different path, and how things unfold is something that is absolutely come out of the blue. So it's not the path that you were comfortable with. Even though that was in the future, but you're still comfortable because you're expecting it. You're expecting it now.
Yeah.
I'm 28, I'm gonna finish my PhD, that's amazing. That's I'm young, I'm still young, I'm 28. I'm done with my PhD, I'm super duper happy. But then when that doesn't happen, and then life takes a completely different shift, and then you find yourself 28 and you're not doing or finishing the thing that you, then regret stems from that. It's like, you look at yourself in the mirror when you're 28, for example, and then you're like, and then you're like, oh, I should have been doing something different.
Mm-hmm.
Because I had I had similar plans. I'm not talking about. It's not personal. But
The thing is that I'm 28, so that's why.
yeah. But I also had like 28 set for me as a target, for example. But then things are taking completely different direction, and then regret stems from that.
Mm-hmm.
In my case, for example, like finishing university, and then we had to do this military service, and then afterwards I wanted to come to Germany straight away, but then I got like set back almost 2 years. And then I would have told myself, well, actually, right now I'm 26. I should have been done with my master's, but I'm not.
Yeah.
Back then, I'm not regretting it now, because I see that life, God, thank God, has given me a completely different path.
Mm-hmm.
But back then, when I was 24, and I felt like I should start my master right now, but I didn't. Instead of just doing something completely different, I was regretting lots of stuff because I didn't know how to deal with the moment. And so instead of actually dealing with that, the only emotion that you allow immediately is to like regret and just self-loathe. Like maybe there was something that I did wrong throughout the past couple of years that led to this moment. That's why I'm not starting my master's when I'm 24.
Yeah.
Do you understand what I mean? What I'm getting at? I don't know if you agree or disagree.
I do agree, but then I also want to ask you this, and also Dr. Faisal, because it's something that I wanted to also put on a note. Last time, Dr. Faisal, I told you whether if you were given the time and if you were given the opportunity to go back and do the exact same thing, is there any kind of shortcut you would have taken? And the same goes for you, Apo. Like, is there any kind of shortcut? Now that so the outcome is the regret because you did not achieve what you wanted to do by a certain age.
Timely, yeah, it's timely.
Yeah.
It's always timely.
So do you think if you were given the chance again, would you wipe everything out and seek for a shortcut?
Would you do things differently?
Would you do things differently now that you have the regret?
Now that you also, with this information, now that you know.
Well, under one condition.
Yeah.
That I know that things will unfold exactly the same way that they unfolded right now.
Yeah.
Because
that's what I'm saying. It's because even if you have that regret, you cannot deny that you already have a half full glass. So if you're actually focusing on the half empty one, then you're actually also denying all the full, the half full glass that you actually worked so hard to even get it to a half full. So I think even though regret is something that we have to live with, but then it still cannot equal the amount of things that we have carried out with our lives till now. I would say.
I agree.
So would you go for a shortcut?
Yes.
Oh, really?
Yes, I would, because, but this is something that I don't think I can say on a podcast because it has to do with.
Okay, yeah, it's okay.
No, I understand. So.
And what about you, Dr. Faisal?
We talked about this. So my answer was, with all this knowledge, I would still do the same things, but with a different perspective in mind. So when I would know that my glass will always remain empty no matter what, I will look at things with a very different eye, and I think that makes all the difference on how we experience things and how we live that. I want to have a complete separate discussion on how we are brought up and what our so what you were talking about. I want to comment on that a little. Is I think when we are children, it is not just my thinking. It is generally
Closer.
a general learning from the human behavior that our
parents,
that our
upbringing.
No, that our acceptance or whatever lies outside us. So we look at other people to realize if we have done something good or bad. I don't know how can we say it in better words. Our
reference, you could say.
Yes, our reference system lies outside us.
Yeah, that's a very nice.
Yes, and slowly it moves towards us, and
and you're not used to that.
Yes, and someday in life it moves inside us, right? So what I can always refer back to is for example, I could always listen from others that I should, for example, finish my school, then finish my college, then go to the university. And then when the point of going to university comes, my reference point is relatively closer. It is still outside. I do not have complete information of everything that happens in the world, but it is still a little bit outside me. So people are suggesting things, but I have to make some decisions, right? When I am in the university, when I am studying, for example, while you're doing masters, it is quite closer. It is right here. So you are still being
evaluated from outside.
Evaluated from outside. You're still being given instructions from outside. You still are told this is good, this is bad.
You're still compared.
But
it doesn't matter that much.
You have much more control over it, right?
Yeah.
And once you finish your degree, you actually start your professional career. Or, for example, when you get married, you are with someone else. That goes. I believe that goes inside you. So then there is no one to tell you what you should do or what is good or bad. Now you have to evaluate everything yourself, and this is something that we are not used to. Do you understand?
Yes,
that?
I agree.
And no one tells us this. No one tells us
Prepare
to be ready
yourself for that.
And you're not ready. Definitely not ready.
So what I see, so what I tell everyone, or what I have experienced myself, and what I see other people experiencing, is they are always told from outside, this is what is good, this is what you should do, and slowly, as they graduate, as they go into the professional career, they are just in complete air. They can float in any direction, and every direction is right. So they have this question of, okay, now which direction should I go in? And everybody is floating in that same direction, and they say, okay, maybe we should go here, or maybe we should go there. And in whichever direction you will flow, you will always see, oh, I am missing out on every other direction.
Yeah.
And we are not used to this. We are only used to see just what. So that is what I feel. But it does not happen at that moment. It slowly. But
it's not abrupt.
Yes, it is not abrupt. It is happening. We just deny this. So some people I've seen, their reference coordinate is quite close, and still they are looking outwards. They do not own the responsibility of choosing their own things. And some people are very young. They have to bring up their own family. They have to work hard. They have to do things. And their reference system comes closer to them or inside them much earlier than several other people. Mm-hmm. So you have to just understand this fact. And you have to own it, even when it is very far, to then be prepared for when it comes closer and when it goes inside you. And when it goes inside you, what I believe is, what I have experienced, so this is what I was saying. So I would look at things differently. So when it is inside me, if I know myself, right? It now it is going in a very deeper philosophical thing.
Okay.
But when I know myself, I will make more informed decisions that align with what I like and how I see myself, what is my self-image. But if it is inside me, I feel differently, but I'm still giving it in the hands of other people to dictate what I should do. They are telling me, go in this direction, go in that direction. I will go in that direction. I will succeed in terms of how world feels like, how world defines success, or how people around me define success, but I will not enjoy that. So even after I will theoretically obtain success, I will feel empty or inside, because I don't know do you understand that?
Yes.
But then this is also something that you cannot gain at an early age, I would say. So even if you go back, there's no way you could actually know all of this about yourself and not knowing like.
Some people have very diverse experiences as young kids.
I'm taking the same example.
So this is where good parenting, this is where good mentorship comes in,
mm-hmm.
and this is where the good
exposure
comes in, and this is where the idea of you are average of 5 people you hang out with comes in. And now in the age of digital world, I say you're not average of 5 people you hang out with, you're average of 5 people you follow.
Yeah. Nice.
So now when you're very young, when mm-hmm. when your brain is already developing, when you are already developing your self-image, previously, so that is why I wanted to be a teacher. because teachers play a big role in defining our self-image, on how we perceive ourselves and how we see ourselves and how responsible we become, because we spend half a day with teachers and then rest half of the day with parents, and then parenting plays a huge role in defining how we develop our self-image while it is being developed.
Yeah.
Right? And what I see is some people learn it the hard way. That is what I am saying. So they get responsibility of their family, their themselves very early, and they learn this the hard way. Right? That is through suffering. If you do not want to, if you want them to learn this without suffering,
do you think it's actually possible to learn that without suffering? How are you going to come to the realization if you don't go through it?
That's a very good point. I have to think of the words. So the idea is that experience, or you can call it suffering, is the biggest teacher.
Yeah.
Right? You cannot learn anything without suffering. I will put it this way. I have other words in my mind, but I will put it this way, because suffering is the biggest teacher. You cannot learn anything without suffering, but it is not that it does not have to be your own suffering. It can be someone else's suffering. If you are intelligent or smart enough, you should be able to learn from someone else's suffering.
Yeah, definitely.
So nothing can happen without suffering.
That's why reading books, for example.
It does not have to be your own suffering.
Yes.
And this is the biggest point. So now I say your average of 5 people your average of 5 people used to say your average of 5 people you hang out with, your average of 5 people you follow, your average of 5 people you see on YouTube, your average of 5 people you read.
The books, absolutely.
That is what I feel now.
Yeah.
And you can learn a lot from them. And of course, it will not completely alleviate 100% of your suffering, but it will tone it down significantly.
Yes.
That is what I believe. And it again comes back to this point of good parenting, good teachers who come in our lives and change this course completely. And it can be a teacher, for example, who has gone through different phases of life, who has read all the books, who has different kinds of people in their surroundings, and they can give you a much better perspective of what you're doing with yourself, rather than you experiencing everything yourself. And if they come in your life early, then you will be smarter earlier. I think I think this thing plays a big role.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, go.
I just wanted to ask a question, which is, speaking of time that is related to regret, would you now say, because I've learned, for me personally, I've learned to just accept it, and accept that God has a plan for every one of us, and when things don't go in the vector that was set for you, it goes in another one, and this is actually what makes life much more enriching and the experience more intense. And speaking of time, always saying that I should have achieved more at this age, I should be in a completely different place at this age. And then looking at the prospective coming events in my life, I'm like, well, okay, after 3 years I should be doing that, but I'm not been able to do it, because right now, in order to do that, I should be doing something else right now, but I'm not. I'm doing something X instead, so I'm going to be in another place. But right now I've just learned to just let go. And my model to just cope with this, because it took me so much time actually, to just come to this conclusion, which is, it's a little bit religious, but this is me personally, which is, everything that happens in life has already been written for you, but you don't know it anyway. But what you can actually do is just play your part. It's like as if you draw a circle around yourself, and this is your control zone. And then some things are inside that control zone that you can absolutely have complete control over, and some things are outside that no matter what you do, you cannot control. And then these things that you can't control, and you know that you can't control them, you shouldn't even think about them. You should just focus 100% all of your efforts on the things that are inside. And I learned that for me, regret is going to be when I either start focusing on what's outside at the expense of what's inside, or I don't even focus on anything that's inside, and I just let it be. And then I ask myself, why haven't the results turned out as they should have been? So what you should do is this. You're in a circle, and then imagine that every single circle for
Mm.
different goals in your life. So every single goal has a set of factors, some of which are inside that circle, some of which are outside.
Mm.
Outside is not your stuff, it's God's stuff. What's inside is yours, and this is your responsibility.
Mm.
And God has given you the capacity to just stretch yourself out thin and stand at the borders.
Mm.
And then once you're there, you're like, okay, I did my part. God, help me
Yes.
achieve this. And then if you achieve that, you'll be super happy because you did what you should. And if you don't, you won't regret it because you did your part.
Okay. Your explanation is nice. I have an alternate explanation. Have any one of you?
Excuse
read-
me, before we go on, you're making so much background noise with your this.
I'm not hitting it on the chair. Can you hear
Earlier.
that? Can you hear that?
Yeah, and then you do like this, and this is also.
Okay.
not good.
Okay. So my alternate.
Sorry.
Have any one of you read 7 Habits of Highly Effective People?
I did not.
I read one chapter, but it was a very long time ago.
I will highly recommend reading that book. It is very thin.
Mm.
It is super practical.
It's very
As-
thick.
Yeah,
No,
I
it is.
thought
It
so
is. It is
too.
this thick.
I
7
I
Habits-
have it back home. It's like this thick.
It
Yeah.
depends on which text or which
Ah.
font or how much words per page. But I believe I've read several books, and I believe that is a very small book to read.
Okay.
It is.
Okay.
It is not a.
And
book.
it's
It is-
worth reading. You think you should read it?
I think it is worth reading while we are in school,
Okay.
because that teaches us a lot about things. So I have learned something from there, which I think I learned it from there. But now when so I have an alternate explanation of regrets. No, so the author says, I hope I am right. It is in that book. I'm not confusing it.
We can put reference
Yeah, but that
in
is
the comments.
but it is a super easy, nice, and intuitive explanation of dealing with regrets, and that is whenever we want to make a decision, we always have multiple sticks. Imagine we have multiple sticks in front of us, and we have to pick one.
Okay, I
We-
remember you told me about that.
We've
Yeah.
talked about this.
Yeah,
Huh?
yeah.
So imagine you have multiple sticks in front of you, and you can only pick one, right? For example, when I was thinking of going for PhD, I could continue my PhD that I was doing in Pakistan.
That's a
That
stick.
is one stick.
Mhm.
I could go to France, that is another stick. I could go to Germany, that is another stick. Or there could be 500 more. Go there, do this, do that. Don't do a PhD can also be a stick there. Every stick will have 2 ends. So one end will be what I will gain, the other end will be what I lose, right? So if I want to choose a stick of doing PhD from Pakistan, there are several things attached on this end, which is I will get a PhD after 1 year. I will save a lot of time. I will remain in my comfort zone. I will not have to pay anything.
Yes. Living with family and friends.
Living with family and friends, and you
The
can
list
imagine
goes
this,
on,
na?
of course.
That is
Yes,
so
yes.
this stick has several things attached on this end,
Mhm.
but it has several things attached on the other end. So I will not get that much exposure.
You won't get
I
any of
will-
the other sticks.
Just so
Yes,
I will,
yes,
so I
that's
will
what I
have
mean.
several things attached on the other side.
Yes.
But if I see, for example, a stick from Germany, so I will be starting from so the things that are attached on the other side are I will not know any German, I will not have any friends, I will be away from family, it will be a new country, I will be out of my comfort zone.
Yes.
But the things attached on this side are I will have more exposure, I will see Germany, I will travel around, so several things. Nah? So I can pick one of them, but I have to pick the whole stick, right? So I cannot say I want to have this side of a stick from Pakistan, but the other side should be what is on this stick from Germany.
Yes. Doesn't work that way.
Doesn't work that way. You understand that. It is quite intuitive and easy to understand it this way, but I don't know how we mess it up when we think of our lives and when we think of applying this same law, this same principle in our lives. So you just have to pick a stick with more information by looking at what is attached on this side of the stick and what is attached on the other side of the stick and what is attached on this side of this stick and the other stick. And if I pick this, then I will get this, but these things will come with it. But if I want the other thing, then I have to pick that whole stick. And I cannot pick this stick and always say, yeah, but I lost that. You could have picked that. You had full choice. It is just that it had several other things on the other end that were deal breaker for you, and that is why you did not want to pick that stick. You still could, but then you will get that whole package and you cannot switch to this. So what we always do, what I have seen people doing throughout their lives is having very irrational regrets of, I chose this stick, I got this, but I did not get what was attached on the other side of the stick. Do you understand that?
Because people usually fail to categorize their sticks and the endings of their sticks rationally, I would say.
I believe, I don't know, but I believe they already know this. They just do not know this philosophy. So after I read this, it became much easier for me to make decisions.
Yeah.
I could make decisions then instantaneously. So if I pick this stick, I will have to give more time, more energy, do this, do that. That is the other side of the stick, and I will get this. Or I can have my time, myself, whatever I want, but then I will lose the other things. So pick one of these.
What if you chose a stick, expecting to get both sides, and then you don't get the good part in it?
I don't believe that. So
things happen in life.
So this is what I believe. So this what I believe is because of misinformation. So maybe you are assuming something with a certain stick, but that assumption is wrong. That stick is still there, but it is you're talking about, I did not have information about what will be attached on the other side and this side, and I just picked up this stick.
No, but then I think what Apo is talking about is the possibility of having life happening in the middle of this.
Can I give you an example? A concrete one for me.
We will come to this.
Okay.
So when life happens, basically what happens is,
so for example,
your sticks change.
No.
Or you do not have now 50 sticks to choose, you only have 3.
No. For example, if I would give you like an example from the top of my head, when I went to China, I was supposed to graduate by the age of 25, and I should have been a doctor by then. So I know what my stick was. I know what was the positive side of it. I know what was the negative side of it. I accepted both of them. I went there. COVID happened. I did not get anything.
Nice.
Neither this nor that.
Yeah.
I lost everything.
That's exactly.
Yeah.
That is exactly what I meant.
So you tried to pick a stick.
Yeah.
And then life happened. So stick was taken away from you.
It was taken away from you.
But
nice.
once it is taken away from you, then you have other sticks to choose from. So then you have another decision to make.
Yeah.
The thing is, what happens like this is, I didn't do anything, like I didn't do it purposefully. So I did not choose this to happen to me. So I should not have any. So this goes beyond regrets. So this is not a regret.
No. But regret regret in at this point can be that someone could ask herself, well, was this a wrong stick from the beginning?
Exactly.
Should I have chosen a completely different stick to start with?
No.
I mean, regret is a sea that has no depth. Like regret is
inevitable.
No. I don't mean that. I mean that I don't mean that it's inevitable. I mean that regret is something. If you allow yourself to just descend into these pits of misery, there is no depth for that. You can just keep going down and keep assuming stuff and keep asking questions. And was I wrong? Was it the wrong stick from the beginning? Should I have? Should? And these questions have no answers. They just destroy your life.
Yeah.
And they prevent you from moving forward. And actually dealing with what God has put on the table right now for you. That's a new life. That's a new system. That's new boundary conditions now. Just deal with it. Regret prevents you from doing that.
That is exactly what I'm talking about. So once you do not have that class, if you are living, you automatically have another class. So that maybe is less full, more empty, but you still have that.
Yeah.
If you would have been holding that class, then it would have been that thing. So I believe so I see myself as I try to make an informed decision about picking a stick. If it was taken away from me, that is not something I did purposefully. So just move on to what should I do now.
Yeah.
So my head works differently.
No, I think we're actually
Makes
saying
sense.
the same idea, just in different languages, I would
Yeah.
say.
Yeah.
I think we totally both, and the three of us, agree on the same idea, and regret is something that, as you said, so you're proposing that if you give yourself the chance to feel the regret, it will keep you from taking any other stick, but that does not deny the fact that there is another stick.
Yeah.
So I think we're just saying the same thing, but just in different languages. Mm-hmm.
Yes, I agree.
So your question in the very beginning was, it was
Related to time?
yeah.
Yes. No, I have another follow-up question that has to do with the same direction, which was, that's very concrete right now. I have to be super close so that my sound...
You're okay. You're
No,
good.
this is not nice.
No,
No,
this is
I
not
think
This is so much resonance.
How come Dr. Faisal is so much in control over?
I think the mics are different. They're the same mics, but they're configured
You need to
differently.
get closer.
Yeah, I have to be this close.
Yeah, okay.
And then this is better. So my question was something that's very concrete. So you were done with everything. You came to Germany. You chose that stick over other sticks in your life. And then you came and voila, you have to start from below zero.
-8.
Minus eight. Minus eight. We can make a separate podcast for that. Like we can make a separate episode just talking. But just
Called
give us
-8.
Come to
Called
Germany, start
-8.
from -8.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah.
Like -8 in -8 degrees Celsius.
Exactly.
Yeah. So just give us an overview when you came, and then you're starting from zero. You have to re-erect your whole life again. How did it feel? Concrete.
Yeah. So I will give you a little bit of the background. So that is what I was mentioning. So when I was working with the French lab, in my mind, what was happening was, okay, now I will go to someplace new and I will have to learn new softwares maybe and know these people and what they're working on. But I always thought I am a well-established. So I had already 5 or 6 really nice research papers when I started my PhD. And I had a very nice idea of how academia is working because I was doing research, I was teaching, and I thought everything, I knew everything. I just have to apply all that knowledge onto something else. And when I came to Germany, the idea in my mind was, oh, I will spend 6 months or 1 year to learn this technical stuff.
Familiarize yourself.
Yes. And then I will be all good, all set, right? That didn't take me long. So that took me 3 months to build. But I still say I started from -8 because I had no idea about how life abroad is. Because I always lived in Pakistan. And so -8, I don't remember how these 8 points come, but I did not know any language, so I could go to the supermarket. I could be standing in the aisle I wanted to pick something from, and I just couldn't recognize what I had to pick. So all boxes were yellow or blue or red, and I could not read anything on them. So I did not think my life will be hindered like this. I did not know how to cook. I thought I was living in hostels in Pakistan, and I will just live in another hostel in another city, and everything will be fine.
Were you married by then?
No.
So you came on your own?
Yes. And
Okay.
We were talking about, so you came, you were not married, you were on your own, you couldn't, language was zero, everything was...
So I could not read anything, so I could not buy things I wanted. I could not cook. So that was
a big problem.
So that is what I thought. I was living in hostels in Pakistan. I would live in another hostel in another country, and that would be completely fine. But I forgot that in Pakistan we have street stalls, and it is easy to get food outside. And in Germany it is not like that. And supermarkets are closed on Sundays, and they close after 8. At that time it closed. Kaufland used to close after 8, and I didn't know how to cook, and I could not communicate with anyone. So if I wanted any information or wanted to ask anything, I couldn't. And
being in Freiberg doesn't help because you're not in Berlin or Munich where you have internationals.
Yes, doesn't help at all.
Yeah.
I could not read anything the document they were discussing in the institute. So we had our institutional meetings where I just went and I was complete blank, whereas in Pakistan I was able to fully um, uh, yeah.
It feels bad, especially when
Yes.
you're a very competent person, and then
Yes.
all of a sudden you come to a place where you can't really show that you're
Yes.
competent.
Yes.
How did it feel?
It felt very bad. So that is what I'm saying. So in my head, and when I got the tasks, I was still very competent. I could see that everything was running fine, but and then I had to, for example, small things, manage house and wash clothes and
Survive on your own.
survive on my own, and then suddenly this thing about, okay, I have to save because I will not get money instantaneously whenever I need, so I have to save today so I can use it tomorrow. In Pakistan it didn't happen like that. I just used to call someone and I got money. It was never a problem. And so what I realized was that I was thinking technically I would start from I would need a year, and I actually needed just 3 months. And I thought practically I will be completely okay because I was already living in a hostel and I will be just living in another hostel, and it was starting from -8. So everything takes a toll on you. And then I came here in December. It was winter. It was.
Oh, that's
it
definitely
was
not
deep
a good first impression.
It was deep snow, and I did
That's
not
why
know.
the title should be -8 and -8 degrees.
And I did not know any people, and that just made things much hard. And it took a very long time to overcome. And it took a very long time to overcome that.
Longer than 3 months?
I would say it took 4 years to overcome that.
Can I ask, how old were you when you came to Germany?
That's easy. I was 27.
Okay. How fast did you manage? Because I see that you're now very proficient in German. So how fast did you learn German?
I did not learn German at all in the beginning. So I was focusing on, okay, I have my scholarship. I want to finish my PhD in 3 years, and I want to go back to Pakistan. That was also a big mistake on my end. I was not. That is what I say. So that is what I say, that I would do the same things. I would still maybe do the same PhD in again these 7 years that I took, but maybe I will look at things differently. So when I came here, the idea was, I don't want to learn German because that takes a lot of time.
And I'm going back anyway.
Yeah, I'm going
Why
back
did
anyway.
why did you? So you said I'm going back anyway because you wanted to go back anyway, or because you didn't know that there was a prospect of actually continuing work here?
So I always saw myself as it, because the idea came from I was already teaching there in Pakistan. The idea came of I want to be a better teacher.
So
To be a better teacher, I have to learn better.
So you want to be like your role model who learned in France and came back.
Yes.
I want to be the same.
Yes. And that image was in my mind for a very long time, until I almost spent 3 years in Germany, and then I got married after 2.5 years. So then that third year was the one where my wife was working in Pakistan and I was working here, and the visa process for spouse from Pakistan is very hard. It takes very long time. It requires a lot of documents. She was working, I was working. We had to take time out from every day to work on that. And then we started having these discussions about, do you want to come back to Pakistan? Then we should not do this. We should just optimize our energies in focusing on whatever we are doing. And then why do all this? And then I'm not sure when my PhD will finish. It has already been 3 years. I feel like I'm not even in the middle. I still require a lot of work. So I want you to come here. And even if it takes more time, be it. And then this thought of, okay, should we pursue this path because it takes a lot of time and effort, or we just leave it on the side, we focus on what we are already doing. And then this idea started popping up that maybe I have to live here a little bit longer. And even then I was like, okay, maybe 1 more year, maybe 2 more years, but I'm not going to stay in Germany anyways. So why learn German? Because now I'm almost at the end of my PhD. I want to focus more on writing this research paper or communicating it with this person or spending more time in the lab and doing more tests, and learning German will take more time. So why do this? Until my wife came here. Until my wife came here, she is a practicing dentist. And when she learned about how to work here, she realized she will have to spend 3 years in learning German and passing all the tests and exams to start practicing here again. And
That's
then
That was also negative 8 for her.
Yeah, it's a huge compromise.
yes, it's a huge compromise. And then she was like, okay, if you will be working, if you will be earning, I don't have a problem with doing this. But then I don't want to do it
And then
and
end
then
up
and
going
then
Come back.
and then leave this. If we really want to stay here, then I will go into it. If we don't, then I will not do it at all. And I will just wait for you to finish your PhD, and then we will go back. And that was when I was in my 4th year here, so half of 4th year, so 4.5 years. I was here already when this question came up, and that was when Corona. It was second wave of Corona when she came here. No, it was first wave of Corona when she came here. It hit different countries at different time points. It hit Germany before, then Pakistan.
Okay.
And so when she came from Pakistan, it was relatively milder there. But when she came to Germany, everything was closed up. And it was very difficult to visit any offices, do anything. We had to work extra hard to get all this information then. And then this question came up again: or do we want to stay here, or do we want to leave? Because otherwise, what is the point of doing this for 3 years anyways, if we don't want to stay here, like you always say? And then we had to make this decision of, okay, for down, we want to stay here and start doing it. And what I thought in my mind was, okay, we will do this. So we will see how this goes, because I just had got my full-time contract at TU Freiberg. It was for 2 years. And I thought, yeah, at least he will learn German for 2 years, and I will be able to focus on my PhD for this time. And even if we will not live here, learning German and doing this will be beneficial. And that is when I told my professor, and I will come to this point later. That is when I told my professor,
Professor Pfahl?
yes, that I will stay here, and that is when things changed completely.
Because of a decision you made.
Because of the decision I made.
Just because you stated your intention that you want to stay,
Yes,
change things?
changes things completely.
Just intention.
So that is what I say. Yes. So when I came to Germany, my intention,
Because he could have told you, regardless of your intention, we don't have any positions.
Yes. So when I came here, my intention always was, I wanted to go back. And what I realized was, if my intention from the very first day would have been, I want to stay here for as long as I can. It doesn't matter if I fit here or not, but I want to stay here as long as I can. I had wonderful opportunities to learn German, to integrate better in the society, to go in this way, to be a better part of the community apart from just research. But I spent every second of my life in those 4 years to focus on finishing my PhD and doing research. That is why I'm really good with that. But that is why I did not integrate in Germany at all. So 0, right? And when I even just thought of, okay, for example, I want to stay here, things completely changed. I started looking at things differently. I started investing in what my social circle here was. I started investing in, for example, learning German, and seeing how I can now, and then I was relatively more smarter as well. So then I also started thinking, okay, if I stay in Germany, I would lose a lot that I was always pivoting myself on, that I will go back, I will do this, and I will do that. And now, if I stay here, I will not be able to do that. And Corona was a very good time to teach me that I could be a global teacher. I do not have to sit in Pakistan to really teach, right? So,
because then you started the online.
So it was a very nurturing environment to tell me I can still do all those things I intended to,
Yes.
regardless of where I sit.
Yes.
So
Corona changed the world.
So then I realized, okay, I still and that is there. That is going in the back of my mind, that I will try to do these things remotely. And see if I can still fulfill everything that I want to do and while staying in Germany, because why not? So I will still pick this stick and try to get some of what is on the other
Glue
side.
the other sticks onto it.
And if this will not work, then I will know this doesn't work, and I will just leave it and move to the other. But I just have to try. And I had a very nice idea of this seems, it seems that it should work. Right? So my values can still be fulfilled if I stay here. And that is why this decision came in of, okay, I want to stay in Germany, and then we will see what happens next. And now this is what I say. So when I did this, I very quickly jumped up the ladder of removing those -8 and moving up. And then
just because of a shift in your paradigm shift, like a mindset shift.
Yes. So basically, if you will tell anyone that, oh, I am here for 3 weeks, they will only take you for 3 weeks. If you tell someone that I'm meeting you only for 1 hour, they will just sum up their energy to be with you for 1 hour.
And some people would even not dedicate any time for you because you're going anyway.
Yes, so they will not invest in you.
Yeah.
But once you start telling yourself that I am here for indefinite time, as much as I can, people start looking at you from a different perspective or different angle. Long term.
Yeah.
So that is how you build trust and relationships with people, with your profession, with everything around you, and that makes a huge difference. I can book this podcast room for next 3 years because I know I will be here.
And then it hits different when you go to the administration and you're like, I want this podcast for the next 3 years, next year, whatever.
Yes.
Instead of saying, I just want it for 2 weeks.
Or you can only do that if you know you're going to be here, right? So this completely changed. For example, I used to have informal discussion with Professor Pral and my group leader, Dr. Cook, all the time. So what are your plans and what are your plans? And I always used to say, my plan is to finish PhD and then I don't know. My plan is to finish PhD and then I don't know. And after 4 years, my sentence changed to, I don't know when I will finish my PhD, but my plan is to stay here for long term.
And that made a huge difference with them.
They instantly start looking at you with long-term planning. So they start hitting you with, okay, then
contracts
take up. So no, not contract. So then pick up this responsibility, pick up that responsibility, and then now you're responsible to teach fundamentals of metal forming for as long as you can, right? So once they see you from this angle, they give you a responsibility which is very long term, and then they invest in you, and then they want you to succeed because now you're an asset to them.
Yes.
They will want to invest more. They will want you to succeed because your success is, and you're
not going to show up one day and you're like, bye bye, I'm leaving.
Yes. So it is same for us, right? If for example I know so I used to do this, but I did not know I was doing this. So when you see someone, they say I'm in Freiburg for 6 months on an exchange, you plan everything for them for 6 months. You do not teach them how to get software licenses or how to meet this person in the University Rechenzentrum to do something, right? You just do this for them because you want to optimize their time, so they work on this and then they're over it. But if you feel like, oh, they will be here for much longer and they have to learn how to do things on their own because otherwise I will have to do everything for them for a very long time. So you see them differently. Their different kind of skill set is built. They're now more independent. They're able to work themselves. Do you see that?
Mm-hmm.
And just saying this to Professor Pral completely changed it. So my contract was there on the table. Nothing was changing. My PhD was there. Nothing was happening there. But how they saw me completely changed. So the responsibilities they gave me, the kind of work that I was doing, the kind of impact that I was having was different. And then, for example, I started seeing myself differently. So then we realized, okay, now I'm in Freiburg. That means we can rent a bigger apartment. So then we can have plants in our apartment. We can invest in furniture we will use for a very long time. We want to have so we want to have this and that. And then the idea came, okay, if I want to stay in Germany, I have to learn German, and then maybe I will need to pass this test or that test because I will need them later. And then I want to invest in driving license. So driving license in Germany is
an investment.
is the most expensive and most time consuming in the world.
Yeah.
It is and by many folds, so 5, 7, 10 times more expensive and longer than anywhere in the world, and it takes a huge toll on you. You don't want to do that for 1 year.
Yes, unless you're actually going to stay here for a long time.
Yes, and that is what I'm saying. So investing 3,000, 4,000 euros in something, and then 1.5 year into something, and going through that pain of passing the theory test and going through the practical test and fixing everything around while you're full-time employed is a huge thing. And you can only do that if you know you want to be here for a longer. And that is what I said. So if I would have decided this earlier, that no matter what happens, I will stay here as long as I can. I had wonderful chances of learning German, of doing driving license, of integrating into society better, and doing many things. I did not pick those sticks. I always picked up the stick of, just one more research paper, just a few more simulations, just a few more tests, one more collaboration. I always picked this stick because I thought I'm never going to use this other stick.
Can I ask you a question?
Mm-hmm.
Would you say that Professor Pral, that you saw in him the role model that you needed in this phase of your life as you had the role model back then in Pakistan, or was there someone different?
That is different. So professionally, yes. Personally, no, because he has a very different background from what I have. He is born and raised German. I am born and raised Pakistani. My family will never be here.
So the relating will be different.
Yes. So on many levels, we cannot relate to each other, but on professional level, yes, I really look up to him because of his story and background and
professional career.
Yes, and he's a very nice person, and he is a super because
yes, I talked with him in the
yes.
In the
So while I
he's
was
very humble, although he's very he's a very high position, but he's very
Definitely.
down to earth. He likes to talk with people.
I was directly involved in PhD. In PhD, you do not come in contact with a lot of professors. You just have a very narrow, maybe 2 or 3 professors who are related to your field, and that's it. Maybe in masters you come in contact with more professors. But in PhD, what I learned was when I participated in different conferences, I had different friends or different colleagues in different universities across Germany and around the world, and I used to talk to them that what their life is like and what are their experiences. And after some time, I started learning I'm in a better place or a better position with better people. So I used to think this is what normally happens in PhD.
Mm-hmm.
And with time, I slowly realized that no, it is a really nice environment to be in. And then, as I said, I have slightly different values. I have slightly different angle of looking at things, and I always wanted to try this thing or that thing. I did not want to completely follow this German path of being organized, doing this and that, and I always had
German path.
and I always had this. I want to try this. I want to see this. What happens? And what I realized was that Professor Pral was very much understanding and supportive of this idea. Okay, try this, see what happens, and then so on. So what I learned was that I had this space of, apart from my responsibilities and everything that I was doing, I had this
sandbox.
I had this small sandbox or space outside where I could try different things in a very nice way.
And all you had to do to get this sandbox was just to show initiative, to show that you were actually interested in experimenting on the side.
Yes, and what I realized,
because many people, if they were in your position, they would be like afraid. I'm just gonna walk. Like, do they say this? Just walk
on the safe side.
No, not on the safe side. Just at the walls. Just how do you say this?
Side.
Safe side, play it safe. Let's say this.
Yeah.
So let's just play it safe. I'm new here. I don't know anything. This is my boss. Okay, I'll do whatever you want, and I'm not gonna really show initiative.
Yeah.
Because I would expect that if I showed initiative, the response is going to be very aggressive. It's like, are you wasting our time?
This is one way of thinking like it. The other way is, if I show the initiative, so people do this for different reasons. One of the reasons is because in academia, as I said, you have to populate your own to-do list. If I will show initiative, I will populate my to-do list more, and then I will have to do more. If I don't show initiative, if I do not say anything, then I will not have to do anything. So people do this for different reasons. But what I realized was that if I try to do something, he gave me this area to play. And that is why we are sitting in this podcast. I had no problem. I just had to say 5 sentences and he was already sold on, okay, do this and we will see what comes out. And that is why I'm only able to do these things because, and this is not normal. And this is not normal academia. So that is why I really look up to him, admire him.
Did you tell him about this podcast?
Yeah.
Oh, really? And he was in, but again, this is not part of your work. Like this is after.
Yes.
This is.
No, this is not.
Nachmittag.
No, this is not after work. This is 3.
Oh.
I'm working.
And he was on board with that.
Sorry?
And he was on board with that. So he agreed.
That is what I'm saying. So I only had to say 5 sentences and he was sold.
So this is not Feierabend for you?
No.
Okay.
I'm working.
Nice.
Nice.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
you get the idea.
Yeah.
No? So not everyone gets this kind of boss, and that is why, and it is not like this one instance where he allowed me or he accepted this idea or he has been this person where I told him something and he had set up a complete different meeting. He had his homework done and discussed that idea with me in more. It had nothing to do with metal forming. It was a completely different idea, but he sat together with me. He talked about the funding possibilities. He talked about where the time will come, from, and how can we improve it, and how can we extract more than what I intended to, in many different ways. So he always had this input of professional being as well. So. And not on one instance, on multiple instances.
Yes.
Yeah, he's a leader, not a boss.
Yes,
Mm-hmm.
absolutely. And that is why professionally I look up to him.
Yeah.
But I also believe there are many different things where we cannot relate, and
That's normal.
yeah.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
can't be-
But with my professor in Pakistan, I could relate with 90% of the things. So
But I think
I have also experienced that. And therefore, I feel there is a big chunk missing here.
even now.
With Professor Pral, it always will be like this. So he will.
No,
But
no.
It
For
doesn't have to
example,
only
if-
be Professor Pral, like
No,
with
no,
other
if-
people.
If you right now are still in contact with the same professor you had back then in Pakistan, would you still relate 100% with them or 90% as you mentioned?
Now I will only relate much. Now I will relate much less. Because
That's what I'm saying. It's because back then it was the only reference you had. You did not have anything else to compare with, so it was the only exposure you had back then. But right now, you had.
I think it is the other way. So back then, I was in Pakistan. He was in the same lab. I was in the same lab. We were waking up at the same time. We were sleeping almost at similar times. We were working on the same things. That is why I was able to relate with him more on personal level. Because he was born and raised in Pakistan, and on professional level because we were doing the same things.
Yeah.
With Professor Pral, I can relate with him on much professional level, but on personal level, no. And now with that professor in Pakistan, I can still relate on personal level, but on professional level, we are at completely different trajectories now.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
now it
I
is
understand.
so that part is missing now. Previously, that was there.
Yeah, I understand. That makes sense. Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it is. But yeah, it is nice.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have a question?
There's, of course, a lot more things to talk about, but what do you think, Dr. Faisal? Should we continue or do you want to? As you wish.
I don't know. Maybe what we can do
Mm-hmm.
is
I just don't want to consume all the ideas right now because don't forget that this is just a 0 episode and we're just going to see if it worked or not.
Yeah, but we are not.
Like, especially camera-wise, maybe the audio we can keep. Maybe I could make a background...
Music.
not music, but like a background, a stable background, and where just our voices are playing.
Mm-hmm.
So I just still don't want to consume all the ideas that we have on the first podcast, so that later on we could have, when everything is settled, we could have.
So
more
that when we
detailed-
talk about it again, it doesn't become redundant.
Exactly. Because we're gonna
I-
have
I
to go.
think- I
We're
think
gonna
we
have to go through lots of things. Like
I-
right now,
Mm.
minus 8 is definitely a podcast that we're gonna be talking about.
Then we
Uh,
want to talk about these life goals and life choices. I would love to talk about that.
Yeah. There's
This idea, more refined way of this idea of picking up different sticks.
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
I have a much better analogy
Yeah.
for that. I really want to, and I really want to offload that
Yeah.
because I talk about that a lot with so many people.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, shall we call this off?
Yeah.
I'm writing the task. So sticks as a model for decisions in life. That
Okay.
would be like an episode, and then we
Mhm.
have -8 and -8. Just call it that -8 and -8.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, these are two
Right, and
episodes right now.
By the way, when is our next episode?
Next Friday.
Oh, we have it for the whole semester.
Yes.
Nice. Okay.
We already have it for
Okay.
As
For
long
years.
as long as we're here.
As long as we're here.
as long as we're here. And
Okay.
and I hope this works fine. Then we can, if we want, for example, in the exam break,
Mm-hmm.
if we have everything set up, everything is running fine, then we can have it for maybe not until 21st or 22nd of July. But after that, maybe we can ask him and have it for 2 or 3 times a week. So you
yeah.
get the idea.
Yeah. Okay.
But I did not want to do it for the whole semester. That is why 1 day every week is, I think, enough.
Mm-hmm.
But he made this exception, and we have it every Friday.
Okay. All right. So let's wrap up. So I don't have lots of material to work with. This is a lot of work on me.
It's 1 hour and a half almost.
Yeah, exactly. So, Dr. Faisal, thank you for being here with us today. It was a pleasure and it was a very fruitful conversation, I would say. Thank you, Abdurrahman Baraka. It was very nice having you. And my name is Taqwa Khalifa. And you've been with us in this episode of, I still don't know what's the name, but we'll definitely get that sorted out next time. Thank you. Bye-bye.
On behalf of the students of TU Freiburg, Dr. Qayyum, thank you so much.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you.
Mhm.
That's very German.